All right, welcome to today's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. I just made a sudden realization. I always say, welcome to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy. I don't know when people listen to this. So they can be listening to it first thing in the morning, and it's tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast.
You're filming it tonight.
I'm filming it tonight. I filmed it in the morning and still said tonight. As always, today's episode is brought to you by RU Game, best comic book video game, all that stuff, all that jazz, in all of Pickle, Ohio, located at 124 North Sunset Drive, Pickle, Ohio. I had some customers come in Saturday, and they were like looking around the shop, and I was like, "Yeah, can I help you?" And they were asking me a bunch of questions. They're like, "Is this really film your show?" And I went, "My show." It took a second. I was like, "Oh no! I filmed that in my studio at home."
No, this is our basement.
It's our basement. This is our living area.
Again, this is supposed to be my corner.
Yeah, I know.
And I have a shelf.
So
your stuff is like moving over though.
No, but I've moved a bunch of it. I just got to figure out where I can put my big stereo thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, all the vinyls over there. I took all my gaming books and put them over there.
Well, you'll put your stuff over there because it fits in with some of my stuff, like a giant Power Armor Fallout box.
Yeah, that's because it's a giant Power Armor helmet. I gotta find a spot for that. That's because all my helmets. Because if you watched the episode of our other show, Saturday Morning Serials, you got to see my Mandalorian helmet. Most of the helmets are only like this big. That's amazing. That god dang big. So, all right. Since it looks like conventions are going to start soon, and I'm kind of getting ready for them. I don't know if they're going to happen. I mean, my first one's scheduled for June. I don't know if it's going to happen. I kind of doubt June is going to hit. I have a feeling our August show will be. I was going to do a show, put on our show again, which we postponed last year because the day I got my confirmation was the Friday, and then we got quarantined on Monday. I was going to announce Monday.
We got quarantined on Sunday.
We got quarantined, but the quarantine started on Monday. We got the announcement on Sunday, and quarantine started on Monday. I was going to make my announcement on Monday on the date, the place, and start putting guests down and all that stuff. And then everything went, stopped. And I guess some places are starting to have shows. I mean, I know Jesse's starting to run a couple shows. I've done a couple toy shows. I haven't set up at any of them yet, but I've done a few. I've been to a few. Same one 3 times, but that one was but that one's kind of spread out. Yeah. But it's still pretty busy in there. But since we got you back this time, we've done this before. We're going to do it again because we're touching on more old school con stories, some stuff like that. Because literally, I've been setting up conventions since, 16, so that was 1990. Wow. 31 years ago, I started doing shows. Playing with your
It's telling me to go to bed.
Telling you to go to bed. You know, when you got to work tomorrow?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to get up early.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
So we were sitting there, we were chit chatting about that. I ran into Jerry, and we talked about some conventions, stuff like that. But it's funny because I remember going to my first shows, and they had local shows all the time. But your big shows, there was not, they were like quarterly. So you had a big show in like April, you had a big show in July, you had a big show, which is funny because you had Motor City and Mid-Ohio, which were really close to each other. And then it just kept getting more and more until it was like just, there was one. We figured it up at one point there was one almost every weekend within a 100-mile radius. Whether it was a comic book, a horror convention, sci-fi convention, some sort of convention like that. And now we haven't had to hit any. Now they're doing them virtual ones, which I'm like, really?
How do you do a virtual?
That's where you get your 30 seconds online, and you get to like talk to them for like 30 seconds, and they sign something for you. I guess you got to send something in, and they'll sign it, and then they'll send it back to you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's these big conventions that are like, okay, we need to keep grabbing money, and we need to get that money grab going. I'm not gonna lie. I remember going to conventions when it was you simply stood in line, you paid your door fee, and that was part of your. And part of the thing was if you really wanted that person signature, you waited your ass in line.
Mm-hmm.
There was no fee. You know, I've met hundreds of guests and stuff like that. I've hung out. We've hung out with them and stuff like that. We've been all over. We haven't been all over the United States. We went all over the East Coast, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we haven't been. I've never been to New York City Comic Con, but to be honest, I don't really have any desire to go to New York City Comic Con. That's like we had every intention of going to HeroCon last year. But it's funny because I love telling a story at the shop, because you know we get a lot of girls now, and the whole convention is we always say it's 50-50. And when you start going, I don't know if we'd been together a year. Because I want to say, because it couldn't have been the first one, because because we met in October, and I doubt I would have taken you to the immediate one after that in November. Because Motor City was the end of October.
That was.
And then
it was pretty soon after we started dating that I went to a convention with you.
So you probably went, but I remember taking you the first time, and we walked in, and it was Motor City, and it was at when it was still in Taylorsville.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before I knew that your family was that close yet, because I hadn't met your family yet. You know, I met your mom and dad, of course, and your brother, but I hadn't met your extended family, your grandparents and your uncles and stuff. But we went up there, and I remember you like just, okay. Then you walked in, and you're just looking around, and you just look at me and goes, there are no other women here, are there? And then you like saw like there was like what, 10? Maybe. And you were like, what have I got myself into? And that's when you discovered, that's when you found out about the Crow and stuff like that, because that was when Jim O'Barr was up there. He was always at Mid-Ohio, or Mid-Ohio, Motor City. And he lives up there, or at least he used to. I don't know if he still does or not.
Yeah.
But you were like, oh my God, what's this all about? And I was having a blast. I was getting all this shit signed. That was before I dragged a ton of shit and made you stand in line for me and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got ripped into that a few times.
Yep, because now me and Mark do it, because if we can get, like, I was like, okay, well, you take these books, I'll go stand in line with this guy, and I'll take these books. If this guy signs 2 books, 4 books or 5 books without charging, then I'll go get this signed, and we'll get this signed. We work together. Now that everybody's signing, and then it's so expensive to get in the door, now it's expensive to do everything at a convention. It used to be that they wanted you to get in the door, and they wanted you to spend money while you were there with the dealers, because then that kept bringing dealers out. But now everybody's worried about the media guest, and then the comic book artists.
Well, it seemed to have switched.
It's I joke around that Wizard World. I was like, I can't believe Wizard World has the balls to call itself Wizard World Comic Con. It hasn't been a Comic Con in about a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's Wizard World PopCon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the ones that are just, we're a PopCon. We're a pop culture convention. That, I am totally like, okay, that may... one of the things that I like about when the old Pittsburgh Comic-Con, before Wizard bought it and then immediately drove it into the ground, like they bought it and then just, it had 100 guests and a $15 ticket price. They bought it, they had no guests and a $40 door price per day. Because everybody's like, yeah, I'm out of here. And there's like people, like artists and stuff like that. I'm like, why do you keep doing Wizard World conventions? Because I've talked to other artists and they're like, yeah, they forgot to come pick us up at the hotel. I'm like, I'm not going to put these artists' names out there because, I don't want to, if that's an issue or something. But these are big name guys in the comic book field.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't go pick them up at the hotel to bring them to the convention. Yeah, they had to figure out a ride to get there.
That's kind of bad.
It's horrible. But I remember, this is going back. We're going to get away from that for a little bit. I'm going to rant about that probably before the end of the show anyways. But, I remember when you would come and we started doing the Dayton shows. Because this is back, we had 2 Dayton shows. We had the Columbus show. We had Indianapolis. We had Sharonville. We had Cincinnati. Occasionally we'd do Toledo. Sporadically we do Zanesville. Stuff like that. And I remember at first you just came and visited. Like, especially with Dayton shows. You'd just be like, we're in the neighborhood, we're going to the Dayton Mall. So you'd come down and hang out for, 20 minutes, hour, whatever. And you would take off. And then, as we were together longer, you started staying longer. And you're like, wow. And then you started, like, learning about, like, because I remember when you first came, when me and you first met at the comic book shop, you thought comic books were for kids. You did not know even remotely.
I had no idea.
What because it was, you liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't even know if you knew if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a comic book.
No.
And then you read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you're like, oh, this is nothing like the movie. And I'm like, no, it's not, because it's brutal and violent. It's weird that Turtles took that hard left turn into, like, kid-friendly. Because them early comic books are not kid-friendly.
No.
But, it's... When you started, like, going, oh, well, what's this? Faust, Cry for Dawn. You're like, oh shit. And then you start meeting these guys that were doing Cry for Dawn. You got the guys who did Faust. You met the guys who did, you met Jim O'Barr. And you're like, holy shit. And then you started getting into it and stuff like that. What's funny still to this day, and me and you laugh about it, is that you got people that are like, oh, are you into comics? Is Paul into comics? You're like, no. Mm-mm. No. And you see, I like what you've always said, though. If I ever split up with you, which is in the first thing they say, they collect comics, like, red light, I'm out of here. I'm finding somebody else.
That's a giant red flag that I will run away from.
Yeah. And it's funny, because, like, I joke around about where my priorities lie, and I always say, it's you and the kids, then grandma, then comic books, and then everything else. And it doesn't fall really that far. I mean, it's exaggerated, but it probably isn't. Comic books are probably a good solid 5th behind money. So it's like you and the kids, grandma, the rest of our family, money, and then comic books followed immediately after that, and then pretty much everybody else. No.
I don't know. Comic books and money would be a toss-up for you.
Yeah, I do love my money. I like money.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what, though?
I think comic books are more important to you.
No, okay, but I have to put this better now, because I got really close friends now that I didn't have when I was younger.
Yeah, but that's included in family.
Yes, family. Because as much as Dakota gives a shit, Mark is my family. Mark is my brother from another mother. And It's funny because people come in and think he's my dad. Like Mark's only a handful of years older than me, and people think that he's my dad. I'm like, no.
I mean, if you didn't have all the gray,
Oh yeah.
I could see that a little bit more, but
Yeah. Now it's well, it's better than one time somebody thought we were a couple. I was like, I could do better. I love you, Mark, but I could do better. You're one of my best friends, but I could do better. I could do better. I was like, no, I'm good. No,
it's funny.
Oh yeah. That's the one I gotta do. Is one of these days I'll have to have Mark come up here and do convention stories. Or actually, I'm gonna talk about Mark convention stories. I remember having shows so slow in Indiana that Mark, because they used to put the aprons, I don't know, drapes and stuff like that on the tables. So you'd have your tables all set up, and usually we'd flip them back and put books underneath there so you could maximize as much room as you could. Well, we ended up with a bunch of tables one time because I think somebody bailed, so we put all of our books up on top, but it was slow. Mm-hmm. So people were like getting up and leaving, so we're spreading out. And pretty soon Mark went over and he flipped the thing back down and got back underneath there and he rolled up underneath the tables and went to sleep. Mark is sitting there sound asleep under the table. I've been at shows where they had so many people that set up as dealers that they didn't give enough room. So if you had to do anything, you had to walk, go all the way down behind everybody's back, and then go all the way to the end and come out, and then back around, and you get out in the aisleway. So, I mean, this is like 20 tables long with people doing sales that you had to walk behind them or walk through their area. Mm-hmm. And we were like really close to the wall. So it wasn't like, I think we were like maybe next to last. So it wasn't like you could go out that way. So we're sitting there, and I don't even remember if it even had a wall or if it was just like, then there was more tables and then it went around. So we're sitting there, and I kept jumping over the table. So I would just jump, hop over the table, go, hop over the table, come back, hop over the table. You gonna say hi, Vince? Say howdy. You gonna say welcome to the group therapy?
Go sit down then.
So, but I was hopping over the table. And I'd been doing it for a couple hours, or most of the day, anytime we'd want to do something, I'd be like, man, I get bored, so I just like hop and jump over the books and land on the other side. And I don't know, this is probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon and a 4 o'clock show, maybe 5 o'clock show. I'd go to jump over the table that I had done like 4 or 5 times already. And I got in there midway through, the table collapsed. I go falling through, books go everywhere. And I stand up and I'm like, oh, shit. Pretty soon we're pushing the books out. They bring us another table. We set everything up. And I go, all right, whatever. So, because we had books underneath, because we were using the tables. So like I said, we're maximizing all of our space. It wasn't like I could just roll underneath the table. I've done that many a time, too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was just like hopping over, and all of a sudden one time I go to hop over, I put my hand in the middle, and I jump over, and when I go to jump over, midway through, the table collapses, I go down into a heap of table comic books, and me. And the bad part is I'm laying there, and everybody just comes over and like, you all right? I'm just like, yeah, I think I'm fine. I want to say it was Indianapolis, but that might have been down like Sharonville or something. And then you had to watch it because not only would they set you up like that, they'd set you up in front of doors. So your backboard would be up against the wall, but there'd be a door behind that, and people would just open the door and like try to force their way into conventions because they didn't want to pay whatever, or whatever. And so every once in a while, people's backboards would get knocked down. We actually had this one kid, and I cannot remember the dude's name, and I cannot remember the store he worked for. But people dreaded if they were set up near him or next to him. If they were next to him, they would bitch and they'd like, oh, can you move us? I've had guys, I remember guys leaving because this kid, and I don't know if he did it on purpose or if he was just a bumbling, dude, but he would knock over everybody's backboards. And that's where everybody had put their high dollar books. And he damaged, I don't know how many high dollar books. And it was because, yeah, and it was pretty common with that. And like I said, I cannot remember him. If anybody listens to this and remember doing Jubilee shows in the 90s, and they remember who this kid was, let me know, because I want to know if he's still in the business and stuff like that today. What's funny is that there's only a handful of us that are still from that era that are still around today. And it's funny when people who haven't done shows in a while or haven't been to them will come to a Jim and Dan show or something like that, and they'll be like, oh my God, I remember you at the Dayton Mall Holiday Inn shows. I'm like, yep. I was like 17, 18, 19, and they're like, oh my God, I remember those days. I was like, yeah, me too, because that was the good old days when you made bank. And God, I remember doing thousands of dollars in a day at them things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went downhill, and then they're picking back. Hopefully they'll pick back up because everybody's buying everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because everybody's got the free stimulus money, so everybody's just spending money to spend money because they're like, oh, when am I ever going to have that extra $1,500 or whatever again?
Yeah, I think people are running out of that.
Yeah.
People are just buying more because they're having nothing else to do.
Yeah, you're just stuck at home. So, but it's bad is that I keep buying stuff for conventions that I bought all last year, and I still have just piles of stuff sitting at the shop that I was supposed to be doing shows to sell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie though, I was able to move. I bought 3 Transformer collections, and I was able to move most of that, but that was because I got to the point where I'm like, it's just sitting in my way now. I need to do something with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up online. Started selling it all off because it was either set on it and wait, or I put a lot of it out for sale, but I had so much of it that I just didn't have the room for it. So, and but it's funny now because I'm hoping that with the reopening of conventions that people will be making, because it looked like toy shows were doing great. Everybody said they were taking good money, so
it's good.
Yeah, which is great. Which my problem with doing those shows, I go to them, but I hate setting up at them because it's literally on my busiest day at the shop, so I can't justify taking a shit ton of my stock and moving it to here while I'm still open here, and then I got to pay somebody to be here. I got to take part of my stock here. I got to pay for a table here. I got to pay for gas, all that stuff here. So it's like, let's leave it here. Sunday shows are great. I'll do a Sunday show all day long because I'm like, if it's close, I pack all the shit up Saturday when I leave the shop, throw it in the van, get up the next morning, drive to the show, do the show. It's my day off. And then, but I don't do it as much as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, when we had we'd have at least one show every weekend, sometimes 2. So, all right, I'm gonna give a break. Put a break here, and we'll be right back and with more convention stories.
My name's Ice Cream Jones. I'm bringing the kids my ice cream cones. A crunchy cereal for breakfast. The great taste of ice cream cones. Whoa!
I'll have vanilla.
Give me chocolate chip.
They look and taste like ice cream cones.
The crunchy part of this nutritious breakfast.
Surprise! Ice cream cone cereal comes with chum balls. Chum balls? Gumballs for friends.
In specially marked boxes of ice cream cone cereal.
Safe Rides is here for you.
If you're a high school student and you've had too much to drink, or you're with a friend who's had too much to drink and you don't feel safe driving with them, just call us at 666-RIDE. All calls are confidential. It'll be worth it in the morning.
We'll be right back with more of Bugs, Porky, and the whole gang in just a moment. Superstars excitement now continues with that funny bunny wabbit, Bugs Bunny.
Sunday on 21 Jump Street.
I have $1,700 saved. It's all I have. I want to give it to you if you'll kill my father.
A student tries to hire Hanson to commit a murder, and he has to find out why.
Her father's Clarence Nelson, man. He's a cop.
I think we're looking at sexual molestation.
We could be wrong.
You need to get that girl out of there.
Stand back! You just take your hands off of my daughter.
Sunday night at 7 on Fox Channel 11.
All right, we are back, and we're going to go into more con stories here. So, what's funny is, like I said, we would do conventions every weekend. We had a show, sometimes two. I remember doing 2 Dayton shows. We do Dryden Road, then we do Dayton Mall, and we'd go and get up, take all of our, we'd pack everything on Friday night, leave, run down, do it. Go back, reload up the van if we needed to, or the truck, and then we would go and do the next show the next day. I remember doing Columbus on a Saturday, driving back to Troy. That was when I was working for Mark, and then I worked for myself. I did the same thing. Went back, reloaded everything up, and then we went and did Indianapolis the next day. And the best part about it is if you played your cards right, especially in Columbus, the hotel never checked you, so we would go eat at the buffet at the hotel, their breakfast buffet in the morning. So one of the perks of being a comic book show, being doing all that stuff back in the day. Holy crap! I remember the.
Yeah, that was before me.
Yeah,
Before I really started going.
Yeah, that was when me and you first got together, and it wasn't till because by that time it had started slowing down a little bit, so we were only doing maybe one a weekend, and it was usually Indianapolis, Dayton, Columbus, Cincinnati. It was the 4. You did them once a month. One weekend you'd be there, one weekend you'd be there, one weekend you'd be there. And you go that way. And that was when me and you got together. Well, what's bad is that I remember there were so many shows that one time we didn't have a show that weekend. Mark literally calls me up, and this is when I still lived up in Sydney with my parents. And he's like, "Hey, we got you want to do a show up in Michigan?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we got to leave now." I'm like, "Okay." He swung by, picked me up on the way up. We went all the way up there. And it was starting to snow. So we like, all right. So we got close to where we needed to be. We stopped at a hotel. And it was colder. We go in there and it was colder and shit in the hotel room. So we cranked the heat up and we go get something to eat. We come back. The room is like sweltering hot. It's like 900 degrees in there, so we're like, all right, so we got to take and turn everything back down, and it wasn't even like we cranked it up like way hot. We just got, turned it back up because it was like, like 55. So just enough to keep, till when you get in there, you turn it up, whatever. So we turned it back down, tried to get it cool, still hotter than shit. And the funny part about it is we never checked the bathroom. It was just a hotel, cheap hotel. We got a room, so we crashed, whatever. And I get up the next morning, take a quick shower. I go in, and there's a crack running about that far down the middle of the bathtub. And you could tell that it had been there for a while because where water had eroded from water just pouring down in there. And I'm like, oh well, evidently it's running out on the ground or into the crawl space or something. So I took a shower standing over the stupid crack. It was like that wide. It wasn't like it was just like a crack, but it was We got up, we went out there, we did that. We go to outside, and there had evidently been like a massive winter storm during the night while we were asleep. So there's snow everywhere, but by the time we got up, they had started plowing the roads. Like I said, this is Michigan, and we're used to it. But as we're driving, there's just cars in trucks and shit in the median and in the ditch and everything. We're like, oh, so we're not gonna make any money at this show because nobody's gonna get here. So we get all the way up there. We do the show. It ends up not being horrible bad, and but it was one of them ones where it was like, holy crap, man, we're out in the middle, because I think we was doing like Flint, Michigan, and we never did a Flint show. It was just like, hey, there's a show tomorrow. Do you want to do it? Sure. And, you know, I packed up, ran up there and did it, you know, because, you know, I used to make really good money doing that. And that wasn't even my, you know, I didn't have to invest any of my time or any of my money into it. I just made money back then. So, but we went up there. It was like a trial of errors on the way up there. But then we got there, we did the show, we came back, and everything was kind of fine. So. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, me and you have been lots of places now. Like, we went to Baltimore, we've been to Chicago, we've been to Atlanta, been up to Michigan, over to, yeah, we've been down the ones in Kentucky. I don't know if you ever, did you ever go to one? I think there was one in, like, Tennessee we did. I don't know if you ever did Tennessee.
No, I think I've only been to one in Kentucky. Yeah. Never went to Tennessee.
No, Tennessee was, I think I just did that one on a whim.
I've been to Pittsburgh with you.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a blast back in the day. Like we said, you know, and yeah, I know there's a whole horror story behind the whole thing, but that wasn't connected to it by the time we got there. But yeah, that was, oh shit. I like the stories of Joe and Brandon. Took them to Pittsburgh the one time, and they had Viper energy drinks, and they were giving them away. And it was funny because I started talking to the people that worked there, and by the time they left, I had gotten, I don't know, I filled the trunk of my car with cases of Viper energy drink. And this is back when I was drinking like 3 or 4 energy drinks at 4 or 5 a day. And it took me forever to burn through those, so I had to have a lot. And the only thing is they couldn't give me the case. So I had to go find boxes, come back and fill them, take them boxes out to the car. And then Brandon and Joe are like, I don't know, 10, 12. And they decide that when they start drinking energy drinks because they were free. And they're like, I think my heart's going to...
It's funny now because they're okay, but...
Yeah. But they were sneaking them, is what they were doing. Yeah. So, Joe was funny because I remember because I'd take him and Brandon to some shows together. I'd take Brandon, and then sometimes we'd take somebody else. Or I took Joe a lot. Joe went with me to a lot of shows. He's still, even when I go, I still like to take Joe with us. But I remember taking Joe to Pittsburgh, and I'm getting an autograph. Standing in line to get some autographs. And Joe goes, can I go over here and look at these toys? And I'm like, you just stay where I can see you, you know, right there. And Joe at the time collected Mighty Mugs, which were Pops before Pops, and they were cool because you could actually move them and play with them because they had articulation and shit, and they came with weapons. So Joe collected those, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden Joe comes walking back with a bag. And I'm like, where did you get money? He was like, I ain't got no money. Like, where'd this come from? And I mean, you didn't want to think the worst, but when your kid comes walking up with free shit, you're like, who gave, no. Because you were right there, I seen him. I didn't see him, like, really talk to anybody, but it still could have been, you know, because it's literally just across the aisle. And I walked back because I thought I was going to have to give them back to the guy. And I was like, and Joe's like, no, he gave them to me. I walk back and he goes, I go up to the guy and I'm like, hey, I was like, did you give my kid these, you know? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, that kid knew all about them and he liked them and I had extras and I thought he would like one and he did. And he said, thank you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I walked off. Joe still has that Mighty mug.
That's
I can't
funny.
remember which one it is. I think it's a Django Fett.
That's funny.
But
He has stuff given to him all the time, though.
oh yeah, I remember doing Gem City. I wouldn't even set up there that year. I was just there because I was working. So literally, I went in there and then I had to go to work that night. And I took Joe with us, and we're sitting there in line for I think Philip Tan, and I'm getting a sketch done. And the whole entire time, Joe's like looking through his binder of his prints, and he feels like he goes, "Do you like that?" He goes, "I like that one." He goes, "Would you want that one?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's well, get you one. And he's looking and he goes, "Well, I like that one too." And he's like, "Well, you can have that one too." And I'm like, "What do you owe?" He goes, "I don't owe me nothing. He just can have those." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Really, Joe? Man." And the worst part about it is I think the kid could still do it today, and he's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Hey, oh, man.
It's his personality, though.
Oh, yeah. Joe's so much fun. I wish Joe would do the show, but Joe is... He worries about what people think about him being on the show, and what, he doesn't want to get any bad, because he takes everything to heart. And if somebody gave a bad comment about him, he would probably like hurt him bad deep down inside, which I don't care. I had this conversation the other day, and somebody goes, "Oh, you make it?" I was like, "No, I ain't making any money on this." I was like, if I make money, yeah. I was like, I just do this for fun. I got a handful of fans. I got a handful of people who love watching the show. I got people who tell me they love it. And I'm like, cool. And I evidently...
do it because you have to keep yourself busy 24/7.
I do have to keep myself busy.
1,000 different projects.
And
I have to regularly tell you no.
Yeah.
On a new project idea that you're like, "Oh, well, what do you think about?" And I'm like, "No. You have way too many things going on right now.
The funny part about it
Pick one.
Is I hear other people that have the same issue is people who were like, I don't make it fun, but I was an alcoholic. I'm not gonna lie. Don't even make... Everybody knows. But a lot of people who had drug or alcohol problems in their past tend to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's to keep yourself busy and to keep yourself amused.
Oh,
and
I get it.
And I keep myself busy all the time.
But you get to where you'll start a project, and then you lose interest, and you'll walk away, and then you'll start a new project, and then you kind of lose interest in that, and then you'll start a new project, and you lose interest in
I'm
that.
waiting for Dad to get back, and then I'll get back to the car.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of work on that last year. And then the one thing I can't figure out what the fuck I did wrong. I replaced the belts, I replaced the gaskets, I did some other stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, now I'm not getting gas to the engine. I'm like, what the hell did I do? I even put a new fuel pump on it. And I don't know what I did. So somewhere between point A and point B, I'm not getting gas. So, and I get aggravated easy. That's another problem.
Yeah, you proved that with the dryer hose the other night.
Yeah. Well, that didn't help.
Throwing a big giant temper tantrum.
Well, to be honest, I had gotten my second COVID vaccination that day, and it was starting to...
You was so grumpy.
I was starting to feel it hardcore.
So grumpy.
And then the worst part about it is that I felt grumpy that night. I tried to go to bed. It didn't quite work, but I got up the next morning and I felt blah. I felt like I had been sick the day before. You know, that when you had a cold, and then the day you think you're finally going back to work, you're just like, that's what I felt like. My sinuses hurt. I never had the body ache. I mean, my arm hurt from the shot and stuff like that. So I do that, and then...
I don't know, I just slept 16 hours.
I didn't even sleep like my normal amount of time either. I slept like 6 hours, so I slept about my normal amount of But I got up and I started doing my day, and I just, like I said, I felt like I had like a bit of a sinus headache and stuff like that. I felt a little groggy. I was irritable, but I was probably irritable anyways because it's me from time to time. And then about 6 o'clock, I felt good, and I'm like, okay, that passed. I mean, I felt like real good, and then 8 o'clock rolled around, and I started feeling like, yeah. And then 9 o'clock rolled around, I'm like, I need to go to the gym. I just need to waste his energy. I was so wired that finally, when I did finally go to bed about 3:30, I made myself go to sleep. Because I'm sitting there, and you had went to bed, and everything, and I'm sitting there on the couch watching TV, and I'm like, I need to try to go to bed. Because if not, I'm not going to bed. And I did, and I laid there, and I kept kind of like looking at the clock, trying to get comfortable and shit like that. And the last thing I remember, it was like almost 5. I think it was like 4:40 was the last time I remember looking at the clock. And then I woke up at 9, like a normal morning, and I was back going at it. And I was like, what the?
Weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody else who had that side effect. But I was wired. Like I said, I could have went to the gym and did a full workout at like 9 o'clock at night. And been like, that was funny because I went directly from the gym to go get my shot. And I'm standing there, and I'm not standing, I'm sitting there, and I roll up my sleeve, and she goes to give me a shot, and she goes, well, you need to not tense up your arm. I'm like, I can't not tense my arm up. I just left the gym. I was like, I am not tense. It's just because when you leave, your muscles are still kind of like, and I'm like, like trying to get it like loosen up so she can give me the shot, and but it's weird. Like I said, it's my DNA being remodified, so I can be like,
yeah.
So, but no, that was weird. Freaking Friday night, because I was, like I said, I was expecting to get kicked in, like everybody kept telling me, like, oh, I felt miserable after like almost exactly 24 hours later. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for it, and 1:30, 2 o'clock rolled around. I'm like, okay, I feel okay. But
you're lucky.
And then, like I said, 6 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, I felt better. I felt like I would normally feel, And then, like I said, then I felt like I was like freaking wired. Felt like I drank like fucking like 5 Red Bulls. And but thing is, like, my heart was never racing, or it never was like. But it was like I couldn't sit still. I get up, I move around, I come over, sit down over here, I get up, walk over there, stand over, and I couldn't like mellow myself out.
That's a really weird side effect.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't get it. Like I said, I don't know anybody else who had that side effect, but
I'm sure other people did.
You can ask them on tomorrow at your doctor's office. Ask them if anybody else had the side effect like that.
I haven't heard anybody say.
No, and it wasn't that I was drinking, a lot of caffeine or not. I was drinking nothing more than normal. Actually, I probably drank less because I think I drank a big old glass of like juice.
Yeah, I wonder what it'll be like when we start having to get boosters.
Find out. Like I said, the only thing is that my arm ached till Saturday, and it just felt like somebody had just like pushed me real hard in the arm.
My arm hurt really bad with the first one, but the second one wasn't bad.
The first one, it hurt most of the day, and then when I went to bed, I got up, it was kind of fine.
No, the first one hurt pretty bad for almost a week.
No, not me.
For me. And then the second one, it didn't hurt as bad.
What's funny?
But I felt like crap.
What's funny is that I was talking to some people who said that they they work out like I do, and that they said they got you hard. when I got there, I'm like, Rrr. And then old people were like, "Yeah, I got my shot."
Yeah.
Mark said he was fine with his, and I just was amped. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
I was like bouncing off the damn walls, like.
You're just weird.
Oh, I'm definitely weird, but that has nothing to do with me doing that. So we got off topic again. So
when do we ever stay on topic?
Well, one of these days I'm gonna just record and we'll start out talking about one thing. And people want us to do the cars, the car ride conversations. Because people, especially the ones that come in the shop, because they'll hear about the car ride conversations. They're like, "How do you talk for?" I was like, "We've literally talked for what, 5 hours?" I mean, me and you went to, for those who don't know, because we love telling everybody this, went to New Orleans a couple of years back for our anniversary, and we drove, and we chit-chatted and joked around and talked and goofed off.
Avoided all the Final Destination situations.
Yes. We were like, oh, there's a Final Destination, going over in this lane, going over in this lane.
Because, when you're driving for a very, very long distance and you're coming up on the big log trucks in the south, you tend to avoid those.
Yes. Well, it's like we were joking around on our way today because there was a truck with a bunch of aluminum stuff in the back of it. I go, there's a Final Destination. Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, Final Destination is a franchise of movies where people die because death is chasing them. Mm-hmm. But the whole ongoing thing is that they die in weird ways. But the second one, they get stuck behind the log truck, and the log truck ends up killing a bunch of people. So anytime you see a log truck in the road, we joke around about that's a Final Destination. Mm-hmm. So, okay. But we would always do that, because, man, there was a lumber down through there, because you'd be driving along, all of a sudden you'd be another truckload of trees driving by, and you're like, going over this lane, going over this lane. Now you just around here, you got to worry about scrappers driving around with a bug bite, with their truckloads of shit. I just watched one the other day. I left the back way of the mall, which I never go the back way out of the mall anymore. But I was heading. And this guy goes, and I'm going over the train tracks, and this guy's got a pickup truck, like a Ford F-150. He drives over, and he hits that train tracks at speed, and that shit just goes boom, 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 and you see it raise up in the back of the truck and just slam back down. I'm like, yeah, I'm going this way. That's because I do not need to get my brand new car hit with a washing machine. Those who don't know, I got a brand new.
New to you.
New to me car, damn it. Mm-hmm. I got a car I wanted. I got a nice new 2007. I think that's as far as I'm personally allowed to own. I hit 2007, I can't go any further. Because it wasn't up until relatively recently that I owned a car outside of I would own car till 2000, and then we got the van, and that was a 2007, and now the van is my convention van, and then my car is a 2007. But there for a while, every car I owned was a 1997. Mm-hmm. I owned a 97 Camaro. I owned a 97 Cutlass Supreme, and what else? It was a 97 something else I had at that time. I had a van. Was it the Aerostar van that I had briefly? It was a 1997 Ford Aerostar van.
Yeah, my
van. So I had but yeah, every vehicle I owned was a 1997. In the mid 2000s, I had the newest car I had was a 97. I hate new cars. I'll drive them, but I don't want to own one. You got one, that's yours. I know you like your car. It's a good car. I will drive it. But I don't know how to fix anything on it, and it makes me feel horrible. At least the 2007 stuff, I can, if the alternator goes out or something like that, I can put a new alternator on it. Your new car, I don't know shit about it. So,
be alright.
But No, we'll get back to this. When Tina and I travel, we play like car games. We joke around. We do the Final Destination. We do the movie game. We talk about stupid shit.
We actually talk to each other like we're friends.
Yep. You know, but Mark went with us to Baltimore one time. And Mark's like, you guys talk to each other? Like, the whole time? And then we taught him the movie game. And yeah, fun. So.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. You guys do this the whole way? Do what? Talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, we'll sit in silence for, 15, 20 minutes or something like that.
And then neither one of us can handle it.
Yeah. We even, we'll sit there and we'll listen to like Sirius XM on our way down the road, and we're both metal fans way back, and we all listen to hair metal and stuff like that, but we listen to Hair Nation, and it's funny because I was sitting there going, because I don't look at the little things, which now my car has our cars all have the little thing, but back when we had the van and we had Sirius XM, it didn't really give any of the information. It just told you the channel. So we'd be sitting there listening like, okay, I remember this song. This is, we'd go, and then I'd be wrong. Tina would always be right, and I'd always be wrong. Or I'd go, I thought that was it Y&T Summer Girls? I thought that was Sammy Hagar. Shit. Stuff like that. We'll do stuff like that all the way there. Or we'll listen to, I make her listen to Busted Open, the wrestling podcast, and she's like...
I just zone it out after so long. I have to listen to country music at work, too. I know how to zone things out very well.
I just think it's funny because you were sitting here trying to like, I wonder what that... You were like, I bet you that guy looks like... And I'm like, that's not at all what that guy looks like. Because you're just like, Dave, then I showed you a picture of what he looks like. You're like, yeah, that's not at all what that guy's voice looks like. But, you got... We've been traveling and going all over hell and back.
Did you see where the Miz wants to be?
Johnny Cage.
Johnny Cage.
Yeah. And Ed Boon from made Mortal Kombat. It's like, yeah. You know what I think they should do? And this is going to go... Jean-Claude Van Damme needs to at least do a cameo in a Mortal Kombat movie. Because then that will come full circle. Mm-hmm. Because the original Mortal Kombat was created to be the blood sport.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe somebody don't know out there. But that'd be just great. I just think it'd be great. Just give Van Damme.
Well, it's like set up to be a trilogy, but I mean, who knows? It just depends on how well it does.
Mm-hmm. I like the new... For those who don't know, Mortal Kombat just came out in theaters and on HBO Max. I usually go to the movies on Thursdays because I'm off on Thursdays. But I didn't get a chance to this time because they made sure that it was on Friday. Which... it kind of sucked because I was like, man, I can't... So we just watched it Friday night when we got done here. And we watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier... And then watch Mortal Kombat. And Friday night was a good night watching movies. Yet again, like I said, I was bouncing off the walls, so it was kind of like...
and then Joe hated it.
Yeah, Joe hated Mortal Kombat. I did not... Because other people told me the same thing. I was like, I thought it was going to be serious. I'm like, when?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The dude who plays Scorpion... is the shit. I like him. He's does a lot of serious stuff. But I'm like, how serious can Mortal Kombat be? Mm-hmm. They're going to put the fatalities in there. You can't be serious. They're going to put the animalities in there. That can't be serious. I'm afraid they can do the friendships,
Yeah.
And but it was one of the ones where it can't be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. I thought it was fun.
And this doesn't give nothing away because it's going to happen. But I'm sitting there watching it, And all of a sudden you hear, "Get over here!" And I'm like, yes!
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because I'm a total sucker for Scorpion. Scorpion was always my guy. Back to Mortal Kombat 1. Sitting in the arcade, playing him, put my quarters on the machine, trying to play Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Back when you had to put your quarter on the machine, like, I get next!
Mm-hmm.
And they would go out and they would occasionally turn up the difficulty in the back of the system. So, and I literally own a Mortal Kombat cabinet now. I gotta have it worked on. I own it. It doesn't work right now, but I own a Mortal Kombat. I have 2 of the arcade 1-up cabinets, and I have an original Mortal Kombat cabinet. So, and I have a Street Fighter cabinet too.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those need worked on, but they will work. They just don't work currently.
Mm-hmm.
There we are. So, but yeah, I enjoyed the shit out of some Mortal Kombat. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I just wish maybe we could have got a little more. You know, I like Liu Kang. Go a little more Liu Kang. Some of the characters that they put in the movie, I was like, really? Him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, and then they introduce a whole new. I
Yeah.
kind of like the concept of introducing a new character to introduce the characters.
Yeah, because you need that avatar. You
Yeah,
need the
because that was kind of what the purpose of that was.
Yeah.
So I liked that.
Yeah, and because you had to have the audience's avatar in the movie, and that's what that he
Yeah.
No spoiler alert. But it doesn't really give too much away because it's not. But everybody has.
I mean, it's obvious that there's a person.
Yeah, but holy crap. I'm not even tired, but I'm young. But no, yeah, I enjoyed Mortal Kombat. I thought it was a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a great masterpiece of cinema? No.
No, it wasn't meant to be.
No, it was exactly
It's meant to be a fun movie.
It's better than the old ones, but I have a soft spot in my heart for that first one.
Mm-hmm.
The second,
most of us do.
Yeah, the second one's just so bad. I love watching how bad it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow. It's it was rushed. It was the special effects are horrible. Christopher Lambert never came back to be Raiden. Said they get Jeremy Renner or not Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Greenmore from he comes back and you're just like, oh, they have a completely what it is what it is. It's Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I still love the Street Fighter movie. The one with Van Damme and Ming Na and Raul Julia and because literally that has like one of the best quotes, and it's in a horrible movie. But when M. Bison does the day I came to your village was the most important day of your life. It made you who you are, and for me, it was a Tuesday. It was like. And Raul Julia, the worst part about it is, man, dude was dying. He knew he was dying from cancer. He made that movie for his kids because they love playing Street Fighter. And that's cool enough right there. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, but I got to get back to where we were. I got to trace this conversation back to where we started. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and wrap up.
Yeah, we have the 5-hour, and I want to do that one of these days. I'm going to take the camera, and I'm going to hook it up in the car, and we're going to record the entire trip somewhere. And even if it's, like I'm still trying to figure out, because our last trip to, when we did the toy show, it was me, you, and Joe, and Vince. How we got through our and the worst part about it is it progressed naturally. There was no just drastic left turn. It was just like okay, this, and this. And we're like, okay, how do we go from 4-H club and pig farming and raising humane farms to factory farms? How did we get there from Jim Cornette and Kenny Omega and wrestling? And it's like, how do we get from here to there? And I want to watch this conversation because I want to figure out how the hell I got from conversation to conversation.
From point A to point B.
And the worst part about it is we do that all the time. I'm horrible at that. I'll have to stop and trace my thoughts back. And if I can trace them back far enough, I can remember what I was originally talking about. I'm forgetful when it comes to that shit. I'm like, I've really stood there and I'm like, what the fuck were we just talking about? Because I just lost my train of thought. And I had to go back and be like, all right, here we are. Okay, all right. You want to know if I have a bathroom. It's right around the corner. And most of our conversations at the shop start like, we talk comic books, and it will swing into the movies, and then it will swing into the actors that portray the actors and the characters in the movie. Then it will go to their other movies, and then stuff like I know there's a natural flow. It's just when you look at it from the outside, or you go back and try to look at it, you're like, that'd be like going from Pickwood to Dayton, but somewhere around Troy, you end up in Dayton without traveling through Tip City, Vandalia, Northridge. You're in Dayton. And you're like, how the hell did we get from there to there? Because the conversation is what comes between there, but you don't know how you got from there to there. So, and that's our conversations to most every convention we go to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god! What was funny was when the kids were little, and Brandon or Joe and Brandon would go with me, and Mark would go. We'd go to Pittsburgh, and the kids would sit in the back of the car with a laptop computer, and it would drive, and they would like try to get on the internet. And if you got close to McDonald's, and that was back before McDonald's all put passwords and shit, when it was just free Wi-Fi, if you were close, they would get on there and they'd be like, oh, I got a game on, and we lost it. And they would get close to another one, and oh, we got to back up, and it's gone. and it's gone. So they would try to get it as long as they could. But, oh my god, just watching those kids do that shit.
Oh, it's really funny when you're traveling is looking at what all the people name their Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Because I did that on my tablet the one time.
Yeah.
And people come up with some really interesting...
Yeah. Was my favorite was like FBI van. Well, it's like people knew if they were getting into our Wi-Fi because they're like, is your Wi-Fi Jedi? I was like, yeah, that's ours. I don't even know what ours is right now, but...
It's our last names.
Oh, I didn't know. Because I know that it was Spicer Lee, and then it was Spicer for a while, so I don't know. But, yeah, it was funny because people would be like... You'd be like rolling around, it's like... not your neighbor's free Wi-Fi. Something like that. But one of the best parts about going to conventions and being on the road and stuff like that is we tend to be kind of foodies, and I don't want to use. I hate using the term foodie. I mean, if I just find good food, it tastes great. I'm like, whatever, it's good food. I don't think I've ever taken a picture of my food.
I have.
Ever in the history of ever have I ever taken a picture? I know you have. That's why I don't take pictures of my food.
I don't do it to be a foodie. I do it because it's there.
But God, all them good places that we've like found just on the road,
There's places I wish I would have taken pictures because then I could go there again.
Like the place in way in Pittsburgh, that little bar on top of a hill.
Yeah.
That had like the best.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It had the best stuffed mushrooms I've ever had in my life.
What was bad is we found that because we went to the because we were going to eat at the restaurant across the street, and we were talking to the guy at the counter, and he's like, "Oh no, the best food is down the road at this place." And you go all the way there. You turn left. You go, and it's up on this hill. And we go all right. We go up there, and it's this dive bar on top of a hill, and we go in, and they're like, we were like, all right, and the people were like, hey, like everybody's like yelling, hey, when you walked in, and we ordered food, and it was like, holy shit, this is good food. Mm-hmm. Oh man, so
that was really good.
Yeah, we ended up eating too much and all that stuff. It's like going to Baltimore and finding the one Chinese place, and it was literally in like a little strip mall thing in the bottom of a hotel, and it was one of the little like counters, and I'm not a big Chinese fan, but I love orange chicken. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, I get the orange chicken and rice, and they're like, okay, and I get this, and I open it up, and it's just full of orange chicken and rice, and I'm like eating it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm never gonna run out of food. Eating. Finally, I'm sitting there, and I'm like looking, I still got like half of it left, and I ate like a ton of it. And I'm sitting there, and this homeless guy's sitting there like, hey man, do you want some chicken? He's like, you don't want it? I was like, nah man, have some orange chicken, here you go. And he's like, oh yeah. I did my good for the deed for the day. Mm-hmm. Fed the homeless guy some orange chicken. But that was like, fuck, I was in a off like a building in Baltimore, and I don't know where, I couldn't find that again. That's like I asked people, because I talked to somebody that went to Baltimore. It was not last year, before last, and they're like, "There's nothing to do in Baltimore after a certain time," and I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Man, there's all kinds of shit going on in Baltimore." I was like, "Did you go to the power?" I was like, "We went to the power plant. I don't know if it still exists, but it was the district that had been one big power plant that had been divided up in the." And we went to the one, and I can't remember what the name of it, but they had good food. They had dueling rock pianos, and that shit was fun. And we only went to go there for food, and we were there for hours.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a blast, and that was, like I said, it's one of the things where you find stuff on the go, and you don't know where you end up, and you're like, God damn, this is some good food. Or the one that I love telling stories about is going up to Motor City, and we stopped one morning because we used to leave and go up instead of staying up there, but we'd leave early Saturday morning, get up there for the day. We'd stop and get food, and we stopped at this little mom and pop restaurant, and it was just inside of Michigan, if I remember right. And one little town is just right at the border. I wanted to say it was like Luna Pierre, but I'm not 100%. But we went there and we got breakfast, and it was family style breakfast. So we all paid. It was like $30 for all of us to eat, and it was like they brought out a plate of eggs, they brought out a freaking plate of bacon. We're just, and I don't think that place exists anymore. I've never been able to find it. Same with the little hamburger place that we found that had the super cheap hamburgers and French fries, because it was like you walked back into the 50s. It was all the same prices. Mm-hmm. Can't find that, and I've tried to find that like 20 times. Mm-hmm. Never been able to find it again. It's depressing because it's. It goes back to the last episode I did with Brandon. Disappointments. It's a disappointment because. That was back in the day before everybody had a cell phone, and you could have tagged it and been like, okay, tag. We're at Joe's Eat Shack or whatever. That way you...
Joe's Eat Shack.
I don't know. I've ate at some weird-ass fucking restaurants. But the funny part about it is, like I said, we've been all over. We've had crazy... We've met a shit ton of people. We've hung out with some super cool people. We've. I remember doing a show. Remember the show where Big Brown, my van, the gas pedal pin that holds your gas pedal onto the line, the throttle line, snapped. And so I'm sitting in the van. I started up, and I'm like, I got no gas. I can't put it in. I can't do nothing. And stuck in Indianapolis, sitting in a hotel bar, eating the food, and the woman opens up a bag to get bread out, and I went, "Hey, you got any more bread ties?" And she's like, "This is a Sunday night, so there's nothing open. So there's no, like, can't go to AutoZone till the next day or nothing like that." I'm like, shit. So I'm like sitting there and I'm like, I bet you I could fix this. So I got like 10 bread ties. I wired them through there, tied them things onto the freaking throttle cable, got inside, got in the van, vroom, 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 vroom. Like, sweet. And took off, and I drove home with my van, MacGyvered together with bread tie twists. Oh, jeez. That was real bad. Then the one show, you guys took off, you and Peggy took my van keys. We're getting ready to leave, and we can't leave because we have no keys. Because you were just supposed to, move the van or something, and you moved the van and put the keys in your pocket, and you were visiting, and then you took off and went all the way back, and I was like, where's the van key? I called you up, and this is back before everybody had a cell phone, so I'm literally using the hotel phone to call you. And you're like, yeah, I got them in my pocket. I'm like, I need my keys. And we had to sit there and wait until you drove the 2 hours back. And then we got in and drove the 2 hours home. All because...
That sucked just as much for me.
Oh, yeah, because you had just gotten home, too. Mm-hmm. But, oh, my God. You can't have anything... You know, how... Mark and I were coming back from Pittsburgh one time, and the brakes started locking up on his Bravada. I think it was a Bravada at the time. We're trying to drive, and it's just burning up the back brakes. Because we're doing this. We're barely out of Pennsylvania. And we drove all the way back 3 hours at that point with just burning up the back brakes on that freaking thing. Because it was, you know, what are you going to do, you know, because it's a Sunday, we're on our way home.
All the crap we've had to do on the road, like with my freaking serpentine belt.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
And trying to figure out how to put it on.
Yeah, I was able to
get it on the phone with my dad.
Yeah, and I'm still putting it on in a parking lot at an AutoZone because it was the last one they had. Mm-hmm. The engine is still hot as shit, but I'm trying to... The fact
that we limped it to the AutoZone was amazing.
We got it to the AutoZone. I got it on. Luckily, I had left my tools in the back of the van, and I didn't normally leave my tools in the back of the van. I left my toolbox in the back of the van. I got it on, and I couldn't... I'm sitting there trying to get it, because you got to, like, loop it, and you got to do this.
Well, it was the tensioner.
Yeah. But you have to have your arms down inside there, and like I'm sitting there trying to do this as the sun's going down because I can't see anything. So my arms look like I had a sunburn from here to here because I'm sitting there holding on and trying to do this on a hot engine. And we got that damn thing on, fired it up, drove on up the Michigan.
Yeah. Took both of us.
Yep. Oh, that's like Jamie and I were doing a show for Mark. And Mark's truck had a bad habit of you would be on a quarter tank, empty. Mm-hmm. And so we're driving along. It had just started doing that. We didn't know it did it at that point. And I was like, all right, I seen it hit a quarter tank, and I'm like, next exit, I'm getting off and getting gas. So we're driving, and we go maybe 5 miles, and all of a sudden, and we're on 70 coming back from Columbus. So we roll to a stop. And I can see this house. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go see if this guy's got gas. So I hop this fence. I run to the yard. And I knock on the door, and this dude basically answers like with a gun. What do you guys? I'm like, dude. I was like, we just ran out of gas. I was like, can I buy, like, do you have a gas can? Whatever. Can I buy some gas off you? If you get whatever. And I literally bought like 2 gallons of gas for like $20 off this guy, just to get it up the road, so we could get gas. It cost me more to buy the gas off that dude than it cost to get gas back then to fill the damn truck up. Because the guy knew he had us, because he's like, $20. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then that wasn't even like I bought the gas can either, because I had to run the gas can back to the guy.
Shit, I would have kept it for $20.
Yeah, I probably should have. But we drove up the road, and we filled it up, and kept on, and had no problem then. But yeah, we'd always watch it, man. We hit it half a tank. We filled that son of a bitch back up. Because after it goes, you're like, I don't trust it no more. Mm-hmm. Mark would trust it, but that was Mark's truck. That was the worst part about that truck is still running somewhere. I don't think there's anything original still on that truck, but it's still running around somewhere.
God, all the work that my dad did to it.
Oh yeah. Well, the worst part about it is I want to say the frame was cracked, because every time when Mark would get in, it would go like this, and you could see where it would nothing worked in it anymore. Mm-hmm. You had to like hold the door, and I remember turning a corner one time, the door swung open on me. I hated driving that truck, but back then it wasn't that bad of shape. It wasn't even that old. Mm-hmm. But we drove the piss out of that truck. That truck had been all over everywhere, loaded down with way too many comic books, way too much shit piled up in the back of it. Just driving 85 down the interstate with a carload of stuff. But that was the days back then. That's just what we did.
Yep.
That was the life we lived. We were and I still got friends that still do this. They do a convention. They got a convention every weekend, and I can't do it no more. I mean, I like it because I don't have to do it anymore. When I had to do it, it kind of sucked all the fun out of it. And now that I don't have to do it, I just do them for fun. I do 5-6 a year. I go, I set up, I sell stuff. I buy stuff. I usually buy more shit than I sell. I end up talking with my friends that I don't see except for at conventions and stuff like that, and have fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. I don't go to the big conventions anymore because they're no fun. And I get artists wanting to make money. I do. I get it. But the ticket door prices go up. The guest prices go up. If you're going to have guests be horrendously expensive, then at least make the door price go down. Mm-hmm. No one wants to pay $50 to walk in the door to have to pay another $300 for one autograph. Mm-hmm. Or comic book artists that,
Okay, I can understand even having, have just the autographs, like one autograph is reasonable. And then, charge for the photo ops, charge a little more for that stuff. But let the autographs be reasonable. Let fans go and get autographs.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's all in cash, too. Mm-hmm. And they throw it in a laundry basket under their table. And then they get separated, and the house gets half, the guest gets half. Not only the fact is the guest gets a shit ton of money up front too. Mm-hmm. So, I get it. Like I said, I get people needing to make money, especially some of these people who that's literally they're professional con guests. Mm-hmm. That's their heyday was 30 years ago, and they haven't done anything since. I get it. That's where you make all your money, but you're making a shit ton of money. You make money off the door. You make money being signed to go there. Because they're not cheap. Because I've looked, doing our own show. I get the people when they find out, they send you their list of their guests or their people that they manage that will come to your shows. Some of them are reasonable. Some of them you look at and go, why are you $5,000 a day plus expenses? You would never draw $5,000 because even after, because you got hotel, travel, and the money up front, and you just look and it goes, there's no way that you're gonna bring in that much money, and you just gotta like, and then you see them at shows and you're like, who's hiring you? Are you getting a discount rate? You gotta be discounting it because there's no way that you're doing this show and there's nobody in line for you that I would justify. If I as a promoter, if I did a convention and I paid you X amount of money to show up, and you show up and not one person stands in line for you, or you get 10 people that get autographs the entire day, I'd be like, yeah, no. I'd be like, what counts that check? I'd be like, you did not, that's, and I know you're supposed to advertise these people and you're supposed to get, but the amount some of these people want and the amount, you're just like, there's no way you could bring that amount of money into a convention. And I'm like, there's just no possible way.
It's a thing.
Yeah, but it is. It's the nature of the beast now. And I keep telling this to I'll tell you this to the day I die. Stop paying them stupid amounts of money. Stop paying for those $100 autographs. Because if you pay $100 this time, it'll be $120 next time. And then you pay $120 next time, it'll be $150 the time after that. And if you want to do it, you go, okay, nah. People would, and I get a lot of shit because everybody's like, oh, you remember the old days, Grandpa? I'm like, yeah, I do. I remember when it wasn't, they didn't, completely remove the guests from the convention. The guests could be walking around talking to people. Yeah, they wouldn't sign autographs unless they were at their booths, but they would go out and hang with their fans. I mean, Norman Reedus tried to bum a cigarette and a lighter off me at a Horror Hound one year. We've hung out with Ted Raimi. We've hung out, that will never happen because their management keeps them separated because they don't want people to have that unless they pay for that experience.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be part of it. Part of the experience is going to conventions, is enjoying the experience of the convention. If you have to pay for every experience you have, that sucks. I can't.
Well, it sucks for people that can't justify the cost. Like, I've had people argue with me about it and be like, well, if people want to go, if it's important to you, you're going to save up that money and you're going to go. And I'm like, okay, but when you're poor and you can't justify the cost of that, like, why don't I, as a fan, deserve to have some of those experiences? If I... and a whole lot of people in the same situation with me didn't watch those movies, watch those shows, enjoy that stuff, they wouldn't have a career.
Well, that was like the ones that were even charging like $10 just to say hi to them.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to look that shit up. I thought it was fake. Until somebody that I knew was at that convention where they were doing that. And he goes, yeah, there's like 5 people doing it here. I'm like, are you shitting me? They're like, no, people are paying $10 to walk up just to say hi. I was like, fuck that. I've had guests come to me and say hi. They're like, hi, how you doing? I'm like, oh, pretty good, how you doing? Like, the kid from Gotham, the little fucking Bruce Wayne kid. He was sitting there, and he was at the end of his booth. Me and Brent walked up and talked to him, because they're like, his, like, person was like, would you like to talk? I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going? And they're like, he's like, oh my God, I'm talking to adults. And what's worse is the ones that you see that want to hang out. They want to talk to their fans. They want to be out there on the floor. And you can tell that the convention or their management will not let them. Because they're just like, I've been to conventions and I paid for an autograph. And they like gave me a quick picture and another autograph because they knew I was a fan. I talked to, they were like, they could tell you were a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've seen them where they go to do something and they're like, oh, nice day, and they're like, and I get that the conventions want to make money. I get that, but fucking Wizard World's been hemorrhaging money for the past 15 years. I don't even know how it still exists. But it is what it is. They just went under a different name. Now they're under Ace. Still the same group. But, I don't know. It's funny because, like I said, we've been everywhere. We've talked to people. I mean, when group therapy started out as a TV show. It started out as group therapy TV at in Tip City on public access TV. We would get our media passes when we go to conventions, and we got to hang out and talk to people. And you can see the early stages of where management and conventions wouldn't even let people talk to the people who were there that were media people. If I dig through my stuff, I still got my media credentials for a couple conventions and shit floating around. But we've got. We went to Atlanta and I went down with press passes. We got to go to the press room. We got to get free food. We got to go charge cameras and stuff like that. And I don't even know if that stuff exists anymore.
No idea.
Because everybody does this now. If you got a camera and a microphone, you can have a podcast. You go, I have my podcast. Would you like? I want to do an interview. Luckily, I've got some people lined up. It's just a matter of getting the logistics of doing it. But, conventions don't want you there doing that. Not anymore. So, I mean, I don't know. It could be completely different after COVID. There could be conventions out there where they want you to interact with the guests. There might be, but in my area, it's gotten to be a huge pain in the ass. So. But I think Tina's over looking at her clock, and I'm gonna let her go home or go to bed. Go home. You're already home. So, and I'm going to do a couple comic book reviews, and then I am going to wrap this up myself.
Okay.
All right. So Tina's going to bounce, and I will be back after these messages with some comic book reviews. So stay tuned.
Watch out, America. You never know where Zap It will pop up next.
Hey, Dad.
Bobby! Zap It.
Mr. Mailman.
Zap It. The color disappears, but the fun never ends.
Dad.
Hey, Bobby.
Zap It. Complete with guns and disappearing liquid. Additional refills in red or blue sold separately. Zap It. The color disappears, but the fun never ends.
It's new Funtime Barbie with a fun watch and a real watch for you.
We girls have fun all the time. Funtime Barbie. What time? Fun time. Super looking pink, lavender or blue. A matching watch for you. Hot time. Cool time with Funtime Barbie. All the time is fun time. We girls can do anything. Right, Barbie? Funtime Barbie.
Funtime Barbie doll in pink, lavender, or blue. It's a match with a real watch for you. Each sold separately from Mattel.
Hey, a monster pet. What's that? A monster pet has puppet action. Chain up, more action. Yeah, get a monster pet. There, monster pet's a good pet too. Neat. And so friendly. But look out. They'll get you. Uh-oh. Beware of monster pets.
My Monster Pets have puppet action features. Part of the My Pet Monster collection, each sold separately with breakaway chains from Amtoy.
All right, and we're back. I'm going to go ahead and review some books here before the end of the show. So, Tina's gonna sneak in here, get her bottle, and do something with that. I don't care if you don't.
Trying to be subtle.
Subtle, whatever. I'm sitting there talking to you, so it can't be too subtle. All right. First book I'm going to talk about is Gung Ho, Sexy Beast. Gung Ho is one of the books that caught me out of nowhere. It's from a Blaze Comics. I bought the first issue on a whim. It's in probably the near future, these big abominable snow ape bear things are running rampant and killing, and they're taking over the planet. These people are in settlements. Here's this. In the near future, the White Plague has decimated the planet's population. Civilians as we know it is just a bittersweet memory. The world has become a dangerous place. Survival is the only possible for fortified cities and settlements in the danger zone.
How much things have...
What are we talking about, Vince?
Excuse me. What time is it? It's time for lunch.
It's time for lunch? It's definitely way past time for lunch, but it's 12:30 at night.
No.
No?
No thanks.
No, thank you. All right, bud. Go play. But there's 2 books going on, but this is the main core book, Gung Ho Sexy Beast. Basically, these kids decide that they're tired of following the rules because they're getting betrayed by the fortification that they're in, and they go out into the wilderness to go find their friend. It's a fun book. It's dark. It's got its funny moments, but I'm enjoying that right now. So next up is Post Americana. In the far-flung future, the world is fallen. There's, I don't even know how to explain it. There's just a ton of stuff going on. There's cannibals. There's animatronic park, like amusement park characters. There's just a ton of stuff going on. Issue 5 just came out. It's enjoyable. I'm liking it. Steve Stroud does the artwork. Dave Stewart writes it. It's from Image. It's enjoyable. I can't really explain it, so I think it's something you just need to read. All right. Next up is Radiant Black, new superhero from Image Comics. A guy decides one day he's broke. What, Vince, really? Move your hand, dude. Come over here. Sit down. Vince, do not touch the camera. Vince, stop, please.
No.
No, come here then. Sit down.
No.
Nope.
No thanks.
So, but he touches this little black hole, and he becomes a superhero with like. What? Okay, go play. Go upstairs and go to bed. You need to go to bed.
No. No thanks.
But he's broke. Sorry. He's a broke down writer who ends up with superpowers. Who tries to figure out how to make money with superpowers. It's fun. They're only on issue 3. I can't wait to see where this book's going. They introduced his anti version of him, so I'm loving it so far. Next up is Robin. Damian is on his own, and I did not want to like this book as much as I did. This is so much fun. It's great because even got Damian reading some manga, so it changes to a manga style. But basically, Damian goes out and joins and tries to figure out how to get into like a supervillain Kumite. So, because he wants to fight all the deadliest, because he's the son of Batman. He's the grandson of the demon. It's good. It's a first issue. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is, but I definitely cannot wait for the next issue on that one. And this right here might be the best book going currently. That is Stray Dogs. Stray Dogs is from Image. It is artwork by Trisha Forrester, and Tony Fleece. I've said this before. I will say this again. It's Pets done by David Fincher. So it's these dogs in a house. They find out that they're trying to figure out if their new owner, because they're all stray dogs that are taken in by a new owner, and their new owner may or may not have killed their previous owners. So it is dark. It's a bit disturbing, but it's literally like Disney style artwork. It's almost not maybe Disney style, but like maybe some All Dogs Go to Heaven artwork. That is at least top 3 books, if not the top book I'm currently reading right now. I can't wait for the next issue. So, but that does the comic book reviews today. I'm going to tie it all up tonight. Remember, we are still doing the giveaways. So we're getting close. We're getting really, really close on YouTube. We hit 100 subscribers. We'll be giving away Dark Knight's Metal. Subscribers on Podbean, we're going to give away Road to Dark Knight's Metal. We hit 400 subscribers on Twitter, or followers on Twitter. We'll be giving away a copy of Uncanny Avengers. So also watch our new show. That is Saturday Morning Serials. It drops every Saturday. I host some old school Saturday morning cartoons. This last week we dropped Kid Video, Spiral Zone, and a bonus Dungeons & Dragons cartoon. So I'm going to say goodnight. So remember, like, follow us, hit the subscribe buttons, comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and always remember, we're not licensed therapists, and good night.